You're listening to the Boxing Breakdown Report with resident Wager Talk handicapper Kevin Dolan. Get all your latest pro boxing tips at the SportsWolf83 on Twitter.
What's happening, boxing bettors? Welcome into another edition of the Boxing Breakdown Report with me, your host Kevin Dolan, where each and every week we'll give our thoughts on that weekend's most high-profile fights, and more importantly, the best value bets made in each one. So let's get into it. This weekend, one of the best fights of the year, in my opinion, Artur Beterbiev versus Oleksandr Gvozdyk. Gvozdyk's favoured going into this fight. He's a minus 120 to minus 125. Beterbiev coming back at a plus 110. Both fighters are undefeated. Beterbiev's 14-0 with 100% KO ratio of 14 KOs, and Gvozdyk's coming back 17-0 with 14 KOs. You can see why the bookmakers are so split on this fight, because there's a multitude of different outcomes that people would expect to see from these two. Gvozdyk's got the greater overall dimensions of the two. He's the taller man. He's got the 2.5-inch reach advantage, and he's also the younger man at 32 compared to Beterbiev's 34. Definitely a split line because of the dynamic. It's almost like a bull and matador fight in terms of this. Gvozdyk's the better technician of the two, but Beterbiev's got the power advantage. So let's just talk quickly about how both fighters got to this stage. Beterbiev probably got his biggest early win of his career against Tavoris Cloud, a fight he dominated. Was that win impressive? I don't really think so. I never rated Tavoris Cloud. I seen Gabriel Campillo absolutely beat the brakes of him after a rough first round, and he was robbed on the cards. So I never personally really rated Tavoris Cloud. After that, probably his next biggest win was the win he had against Callum Johnson. Now that was a life or death affair for the 4 rounds that the fight lasted. Both of them were just standing, trading huge shots. Callum Johnson, he mightn't be the best light heavyweight even in the UK, but he's got a lot of power, especially in that big left hook. He, after a rough first round, he absolutely cracked Beterbiev with a left hook to the jaw, and Beterbiev went down. He looked like he was almost out of there. I suppose in hindsight, Callum Johnson should have rushed in to close the show. He tried but didn't get it done. They both went back to trading punches, and Beterbiev got him out of there in the fourth. Now that's a very worrying sign for Beterbiev, because maybe that was his plan against Johnson, but his defense is very, very lax. He's very good at cutting off the ring, but he's even slow at doing that. He's not very fast on his feet. And, as I said, the biggest problem for him, even if he's got the power advantage, and I say if, because we've seen what Gvozdyk did to Stevenson. So while he's got the power advantage, it's only marginal. Gvozdyk can still crack in this fight too. But it's the defense for me. Beterbiev's defense it's not even up to scratch. He leaves his hands very low, so I could definitely see Gvozdyk teeing off on him at a lot of points during this fight. In terms of Gvozdyk's, how he got here, probably his biggest win early on in his career was against Isaac Chilemba. Chilemba was a guy who only recently before that gave Sergey Kovalev a really good fight in Russia. It wasn't even close against Gvozdyk. A little bit later, Gvozdyk absolutely, beat the brakes off him. He went on then to obviously get the title last year against Adonis Stevenson. Good fight. Stevenson was a kind of underrated champion, I always felt. Everyone was talking about Andre Ward, everyone was talking about Sergey Kovalev, but Stevenson could fight. And a lot of people are saying in this fight, well, Gvozdyk was caught multiple times in that fight. Yes, he was, but I would argue that Gvozdyk, as long as he wasn't being hit with that big left hand of Adonis Stevenson, he was happy enough. He kept turning Stevenson away from that big punch, which I thought was a fairly good strategy. In the process of that, he was continually caught with right jabs to the face. But then I would also argue that, listen, that straight right jab of Adonis Stevenson is faster than anything Beterbiev has in this fight. So in terms of resume, I definitely give the advantage to Gvozdyk. Now, as a side note, these two fighters fought 10 years ago in the amateurs. Beterbiev got a second round stoppage in that fight. Do I place any emphasis on that? No. I generally don't even look at the amateur record, but it's a news topic for this fight. Gvozdyk was quizzed on how how that fight went, and he said he had a problem with his nose before the fight, so I don't place any emphasis really on the second round stoppage, especially seeing as it happened 10 years ago. Going into the fight, we've already talked about the strengths and weaknesses. Beterbiev has the power advantage, but he's the slower of the two fighters. His, definitely his game plan going into this fight should be in terms of closing the distance. So a likely scenario in this fight is he soaks up a lot of shots early, but continually puts the pressure. Kind of like Rocky Marciano back in the day. He was always the technically inferior of, pretty much whoever he went up against, whether it be Georgie Joe Walcott, Ezard Charles, Ronald Estarza. But he got the job done. Continual pressure, looking to cut off the ring, looking to get inside. And when he did, it was curtains. So Beterbiev fights in a kind of similar style to that. Gvozdyk's strengths, he's by far the better technician in my opinion. Better punch selection, great jab, great foot movement. So I see more ways for him to win. I could see a Gvozdyk, especially with Beterbiev's lax defense, I could see Gvozdyk stopping him late. But more likely I see a points decision for Gvozdyk. So that's how I see the fight going down. Now I placed a 2% wager on Gvozdyk at these odds. I think there's a small bit of value. Obviously it's not a 5% play, it's not a 4% play, because I'm obviously concerned that Beterbiev at some point does close the distance. And if he does, all the advantages favour the Russian, because he's got the better inside game and he has the more power. So if they get in close, I give the favour to Beterbiev. But overall, as we said, I do expect Gvozdyk to persevere in this fight. I do expect him to get over the line, and I do expect him to win on points or potentially a late stoppage. So that's it for this fight. 2% play on Oleksandr Gvozdyk. And next week we'll be back with Josh Taylor versus Regis Prograis for the WBSS final. That should be a really cracking one in the O2 Arena in London. That should wrap things up for this show. Look forward to reading your comments. Should be some interesting comments for this fight, because honestly, this fight could go either way, as the bookmakers have rightly priced it. You can leave your comments below, and as always, you can follow me over on Twitter at the SportsWolf83 or over at wagertalk.com. Slán Abhaile, until next time.